Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and today we are going to be taking a close look at two really good options for fret crowning files. Firstly, we have the Baroque fret crowning file. It's a hobby grade file. And then we have the StewMac basic fret crowning file, and it's more of a pro level file. This one comes in at roughly half the price, but I want to do a side-by-side comparison because some of you guys might be wondering, where's the best place to put your money? And so I'm making this video because I have a neck that got twisted, and as a result, when I was trying to level it, I really flattened out some of these frets. And this neck isn't really usable, so it doesn't really matter what happens to it from here on out. But I thought it was a good opportunity to show you guys the difference between these two files. So if you want to see which one is the better value for you, stick around. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. So before we test them out and evaluate them, let's have a closer look at these. So firstly, we have the Baroque fret file, and I believe this goes for around $40. I'll put an Amazon affiliate link to that in the description. And you can see that it's got three different sizes. We got a narrow fret size, a medium, and a jumbo fret size. And then newly added on the 4th generation, they have this flat file for, rounding off the edges of your frets or, doing touch-up work, that kind of stuff. This, they say, is like a 400 grit DLC sort of medium. So it's pretty fine grit, honestly. I will say that using this, it does have a break-in period of about 4 or 5 frets. So if you get a file like this, just know that your first 5 or 6 frets start down here on the tiny frets. And who cares on the tiny frets? If you take off a little bit too much, it's a lot easier to fix than if you take off too much up here. So, and then this one here is the StewMac Basic. At least it used to be called StewMac Basic. Now it's called the Gurian, I guess. I just looked it up. These are available also on Amazon for about $70 to $75. Also available on StewMac if you have the StewMac, whatever free shipping program. This one also comes with replaceable burrs for different size frets. So it comes with a narrow and a jumbo. I have the medium installed, and the way you change it out is you just use an Allen wrench, loosen the screw up, and it slides right off like that. And then you can replace it with whatever size you want. Now I found with both of these files, I pretty much exclusively use the medium burrs on both for guitar and bass. So maybe I'll use the large one if I ever start doing extra jumbo frets, and maybe I'll use the smaller one if I end up using classic frets, or if I end up doing like ukuleles or mandolins or something like that. But for now, I thought it'd be great to have a 3-in-1 file, but I really only end up using one size. So you'll notice a feature that this file has that the other one doesn't, is that it has a curved neck, and that's so that you can easily access crowning frets on set neck instruments or neck through instruments if you're doing the fret work after the neck has already been set. So that is handy that you can still get your hand all the way around it without interfering with the body. This one, it's still possible, but it requires you to be a little bit more intentional with your technique, This one is also a lot more productive. These burrs are definitely a lot sharper than the DLC coating on this, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's like I said, it's more productive. It'll crown your fret faster, but it's going to leave deeper gouges, as you'll see in the demonstration. So those are the differences between the two. So now let's do a real life demonstration, and we'll figure out what's important and what isn't, and what makes the best fret file on a budget. So this is the neck we're working on here, and as you can see, these frets are in really rough shape. I've flattened them down almost nearly to the tang. So what I'm going to do is these 4 or 5 frets up here at the top, I'm going to do with the StewMac Gurian file. And then these 4 or 5 frets down here at the bottom, again, that are equally flattened, as you can see, especially on the one side because it's a twisted neck, we're going to do with the Baroque file. And I'm going to time doing all 4 or 5 of them and then average it out so we can see how long it takes with each file to crown. All right, so I'm going to start the stopwatch on my phone, and we're going to go ahead and let's do 4 frets. All right, stop. All right, 4:43. So about 1:10 seconds per fret on average with this one. Now I'm going to give my arm a break because I'm tired. And we're going to flip this around and we'll do the other side. All right, give myself a little break. My arm's fully rested. Let's do this again. 4 frets starting now. Done. 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, so 1:03 seconds. Okay, so as you can see, there's not much difference in time between these two, which is actually kind of shocking, especially that this one was actually a little bit faster. I really expected, because this one's more productive, I can feel it taking off more material. I can see bigger chunks of material coming off. But I learned something just now. The ergonomics of this one actually make it a faster file, because the way I'm holding it, I'm able to get more leverage, and so my strokes are more productive, even though it's a finer grit medium. This one I also noticed as I was doing just now, I guess I haven't paid that close attention up until now, is that the way I hold this file, for whatever reason, I naturally, because my fingers want to go into that flat part, I naturally end up holding it at an angle instead of straight up and down. So I actually found myself, as I was filing, I would start hitting the wood on the one side and then I'd have to roll it around to do the other side. So, very interesting just comparing them back to back like that in a timed test. I did not expect this one necessarily to be faster. So now I'm going to zoom in closer on these frets so you can see the quality of the work that was done on them. All right, so these are the frets done with the Gurian StewMac file. And if you have a close look at these lines, you will see there are definitely some spots where I kind of broke through and touched the top a little bit. And that's, again, because ergonomically, it's more difficult for me to control that file with its gooseneck handle like that. And so it's difficult for me to pinpoint a specific spot that needs to be crowned more than others. So just in general, these lines are not super straight. You can see where I broke through to the top of the fret in some instances, or it's, you know, kind of thicker on one side, thinner on the other, that sort of thing. But looking at these frets down here that I did with the Baroque file, you'll see, let's see, I started right here. So you can see nice thin lines that kind of go all the way across the top of the fret. And that's, again, I was able to just control the file better. And so there's not really any place, maybe, well, even right there, there's still a little bit of Sharpie showing. So I didn't really break through the top in any spots with that file. Now I'm going to go ahead and polish up those frets, and we'll see which one did a better job overall. Again, this is no finish sanding of the frets in between. We're going straight to the polishing wheel. Before we get into polishing, I want to address one more thing. The reason why I bought this file is because after using this on close to a dozen necks, I felt like it was becoming less productive, and I thought that it was just wearing out. So I wanted to get something that might have a little more longevity. That's why I was willing to pay a little bit more to buy a name brand from a reputable place for pro luthier stuff. And when I was reading through the reviews on this one, actually saw several reviews that mentioned the same thing after a few necks, that this one was becoming less productive. And then I read a review that addressed those, that said people who think this is becoming less productive, they're just not cleaning it. They said if you just spray a little bit of solvent and then run a wire brush across it, this is just a steel wire brush, that it'll unclog the burrs and it'll be good as new. And so I thought, well, maybe that'll work on this one. So I sprayed it with some solvent, I scrubbed it with the brush, and lo and behold, it brought it back to brand new condition again, which was quite a shocker. I thought this DLC coating was wearing off when in reality, it was just getting clogged. So now, as I'm using these, every few frets, I just leave my wire brush out. Every few frets that I'm done crowning, I just run it across the wire brush to knock it off before it clogs up and gets really packed in there, as opposed to doing hundreds of frets before doing it and then requiring a solvent. I could just keep it dry, and that brings it back to full life. So as far as longevity, I can't imagine one would be better than the other. Like I said, I've done a dozen on this, and cleaning it just brought it back to brand new, so I'm probably good to go for another dozen at least. Now I'm going to try to adjust the exposure so you can see what I'm seeing here. These are the front frets that were done with the Gurian StewMac file. And hopefully you can see, probably more so on this one, those deep gouges, like straight lines that kind of go all the way across. You can see it especially there on the end, across the top there, and then along the sides as you go further back. That's common from what I've seen. Even though I got them really shiny with the polishing wheel, it still left those deep gouges, and these frets would not be good enough quality to give back to a client or put on a brand new build. You definitely need to step up through some different grits, probably using sandpaper or some flat files to get these things in good enough shape that they're going to play really well. Now coming down here to the frets I did with the Baroque file, you'll see not nearly as deep of gouges on these. Again, that's because the file medium, that DLC coating, is a finer grit. And these actually polish up really well. They're not quite a mirror polish, but they're really darn close. And more importantly, they don't have those deep gouges in it. And what I found is that if I just go straight to polishing like I did right here, it's perfectly playable. And if you take the time to step up the different grits to get mirror shiny frets, my experience is after playing on them for a couple hours, they look like this anyway. So you're really not giving yourself any more longevity. Oh, you can see one little scratch in this one right there. But that's pretty much it. So the results here from this test are honestly kind of shocking to me. I mean, I knew going into it the differences, and I knew that this one was more productive, this one had a finer grit and stuff like that. But I never actually set a stopwatch and actually looked at the time, and seeing that the difference, this one actually was a little bit faster, but we're only talking about an average of about 7 seconds per fret. So I'm not sure that's necessarily a measurable difference. It could have just been the difference in how bad the frets were. I tried to choose the worst frets for both, just so I could get a really good comparison. But I was actually shocked that I was able to be faster with this. I have more control with this, and I don't have to step up through the different grits. I can go straight to polishing with this. So I bought this tool thinking that I was investing in a pro grade luthier tool that is going to last a lifetime and I'm going to get lots of use out of. And I honestly just don't see myself really using it all that much. I guess I'll keep it as a backup for if this one ever truly does wear out. But like I said, scrubbing it with a steel brush really brought it back to life. And so I'm actually kind of shocked at these results. I don't want to say anything bad about StewMac. I know oftentimes my videos come across that way. I'm like, oh, you don't have to spend money at StewMac, get these cheap Chinese versions on Amazon. It's really just because StewMac is really the only like pro grade luthier supply that there is. And so that it's really kind of the base comparison. But I love StewMac. I order stuff from StewMac all the time. So this isn't saying anything bad about StewMac. I'm just honestly shocked that this file works as good as it does, especially for the price. Now, a lot of you are bound to comment that the StewMac Z file is much better, and I've heard that as well. I have lots of friends that use the Z file, and they just think the world of it. But that comes in at twice the price of even this one. I think they, are $100, $120. And so when you can get this one for like a third of the price and it works as good as it does, I don't think that I'm ever going to buy a Z file, honestly. If StewMac wants to send me one to test, I'd be happy to test it and I'd put it up against these and see how it fares. But yeah, I think for my money, this is the way to go. So again, affiliate links to both these files in the description. You can buy them both on Amazon. This one is also available at StewMac. They're both affiliate links, so you don't think that I have any incentive to promote one over the other. But like I said, yeah, I think this is the better value. But I hope you found this video informative, and if you like budget-friendly luthier tips and tricks, definitely subscribe to this channel. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you in that next video.